Good afternoon, everyone. Woo! Let's hold that a little further away. On behalf of the International Association of Wildland Fire, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's sessions. I hope that you're finding as much valuable information at this conference as I am, and we're really excited that you're here to share with this information gathering here in Barcelona. My name is Kathy Clay. I will be your incident commander this afternoon, all right? So essentially, the safety message is the exits behind you. The bathrooms are on your left. Operations will be our speaker, and they have 15 minutes to give their presentation. So translators, get ready, because they talk fast. We're going to give them an extra 5 minutes for questions and answers. So if they go over their 15, there may not be time for questions and answers. Let them do their best. Thank you. Let me introduce this afternoon Cristina Montiel Molina, who's going to speak to us on fire scenarios, a new concept for fire management at the landscape scale. Cristina?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity of addressing our presentation, our work to all of you. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be here with old friends and also distinguished colleagues in this topic of fires. I'm a geographer, the same like my colleague, co-author, and I'm very proud of husband. I will present this work that we have been developing for some years. It is just been published in a scientific journal, but I will try to present this work in a more direct and practitioner way, not in a very scientific one. I'm going to talk about a new concept, fire scenarios. It's a new concept because even if this term is a very widespread term, it's very well known, very used, but not with the meaning that we are using it. Normally, when we talk about fire scenarios, we are talking about a time approach or a model approach concept. On the opposite, we are using this term for referring to a location or place-based term with a territorial component and with a very different content and utility. It's a concept that was originated not in our team, but the copyright and the real authorship is belonging to Marc Castelnau. And it was built up in the frame of the Forest Action Support Group here in Catalonia and in the context of Fire Paradox project. So we are very lucky to have had the opportunity of developing it from our geographical background, but the copyright is not ourselves. And I'm very proud about also having this opportunity. Well, let's start with the starting ideas of this concept. What are we talking about? We are talking about humans and fire. Because both of these components, elements, are the main components of a co-evolving system, a dynamic system, which is at the base of the wildfire problem. And we are talking about a concept which is considering that we live with fire, We have been living with fire always. And humans and fire have already built up a complex system that is evolving in a complex and integrated way. So sometimes we're managing both elements in a different way, even in a conflicting way, and from different agencies. That procedure is giving us to a failure, because we are not really integrating all the potential that we have if we consider both elements in an integrative way. So fire scenarios is a potential approach to achieve a balanced fire hazard reduction and land management at the same time by assessing the interactions of fire and people. We are considering that both elements should be tackled not in the same way, but in an integrative way in the management system. So what is fire scenario? What is the meaning of the term that we are using? For us, a fire scenario is an area of homogeneous fire spread pattern. So we are trying to identify, to delimit, and to characterize the perimeter, the spatial units, the planning units that have similar fire spread, fire behavior patterns. Our hypothesis is that fire behavior is largely dependent on landscape patterns. So it's more than an interaction of fire and humans. It's a relationship of dependence, interdependence, and we consider that if we really understand landscape, we could be more efficient when dealing with fire management. And on the opposite, it's an opportunity of using the tools or the key questions of both sides. So for us, and in this conceptual approach, fire scenarios are a context-specific and place-based approach to fire management. And it's very important to highlight the dynamic relationship that we are putting on the table, a dynamic, not a static one, a very and really dynamic relationship between the three main aspects that we are trying to integrate. Biological issues, socioeconomical aspects, both components of landscape, and of course, fire behavior. So 3 components that we are trying to integrate in our model, in our system, to provide information to manage uncertainty. But I don't want to advance you the last slide. Well, fire scenarios, of course, as a planning unit that it is, are possible to be demarcated on various scales. It's not the same if we are approaching the problem from a national scale or from a regional one or from a local one. The objectives are completely different. The methods for demarcating the fire scenarios too, and of course the meaning of fire scenarios are not the same neither at the national, regional or local level. So if we are approaching the fire scenarios at the national scale, we should consider some specific components. We are going to see what components, and we are obtaining some specific results. Completely different if we approach the topic from a regional scale And of course, at the local scale, we could obtain planning units useful for the operational measures, and we should consider also different information. In this presentation, we are just trying to show you the results that we have obtained for the whole country in Spain at the national level, and also the first results and method that we have defined for the regional one. But we have not yet really developed the local scale. At the national scale, fire scenarios are above all depending on major land use evolution dynamics. So what are the two main components of this land use evolution dynamics? First of all, of course, the settlements, the spatial arrangement of housing. And we have defined, sorry, because it is half in Spanish, half in English, we have defined a typology of these settlements, of this housing arrangement, depending on the urban, agriculture or forest nature, and also of the context and density, etc. The second component at this scale are forest ecosystem propagation hazard indicators. And for obtaining this component, we have dealt with, of course, the fuel model related hazard, which is providing us data about flammability and combustibility, physiography related hazard, depending on the slope range. And from this, from the variables related to these components, subcomponents, we have obtained the potential propagation capacity of the physical environment. Sorry, because I have not the time for developing exactly all the scientific methodology, so going to the main conclusions. We have obtained a first matrix that have allowed us to define a first typology of territories at risk in the whole Spain. But the result is really complicated because it's true that we have just 11 types of situations of fire hazard, just 11, but the polygons that have been defined are so fragmented that the not landscape but spatial units are more than 1,000. So this is not operational, and above all, it's not meaningful at this level, at the national level. That's the reason that we, for which we have thought about what about introducing the use of landscape character assessment units. I don't know if you are familiar or not with this concept, because it's a very geographical one. It's a method of characterizing landscapes that it's used in Europe from the Convention of Landscape. But this map is really very clear. This map is showing us that there is a close, a very clear relationship between fire behavior and landscape, because the landscape units, the very landscape units that are these lines, are enclosing areas of homogeneous fire behavior. This is the fire behavior. This is the landscape units. And there is really a connection. There is really a relationship. From this first result, we applied a complex methodology of cluster analysis and spatial analysis. I'm not going to develop it here. That has allowed us to obtain the fire scenarios at the national level. The national fire scenarios. 56 spatial units, planning units that are useful for press suppression measures. At this level means opportunities from prevention measures and above all, contribution to preparedness and coordination, because we are an almost federal country with different regional administrations. When this concept, I have not said it before, is linked and connected to the need of provide responses to the problem of large wildfires. So when the suppression services are overwhelmed and they need the help, the support of other teams, of other regions, where should they call? Of course, it's better to call to some region that has the similar or the same scenario that to others that are not used to this kind of situations, because these planning units are reflecting the structural characteristics of territory. And then that means that the firefighters and the protection service systems are used to act in these situations. So this is the first result that we have obtained, and the result that we are very interested in promoting, even if, and I should say it here, our ministry is not so interested in this product. This product is not only our product. It has been produced in cooperation with Traxa and with a lot of people behind. And then the second scale, the regional one, is related to landscape dynamics. It's different because at this scale, we can obtain planning units useful for a strategic approach. And then we are considering once again the ideas, the concepts, and the works of the Forest Action Support Group of Catalonia, and once again of Marc Castelnau, wildfire generation. And we have tried to identify the spatial delimitation of these generations in the territory according with the attribute and data selection that are reflecting these landscape dynamics and these wildfire generations, above all propagation capacity, wildfire characteristics, and territorial context. So at this scale, we are not just considering settlements and forest ecosystems. Now, at this scale, we are considering above all the fire behavior, wildfire characteristics, and above all, territorial context for wildfire generations. Our concept, that is the basis for the model that we have built up, is based on land uses and territorial dynamics. From them, we apply a cluster analysis and we obtain a first territorial diagnosis map, considering, of course, always forest management and settlement model as the main basis of our approach. And we define the wildfire generations. Of course, we need the validation about with the field work for being sure about our production. But we are, once again, very proud about this, yes, I know. We are once again very proud about this map that is showing us the relationship between our territorial diagnosis map and the regional fire scenarios that is very well coincident with the result of the Catalonia team and also the Balearic Island ones. I would like to come back to some sentences of Marc this morning in the first plenary session to finalize my presentation. He said that we have to move from tactical decisions to strategic planning. And he always said that to do so, we need to have certain scenarios. Of course, he was not talking about this concept that I am presenting, but some kind, yes. And I would like to emphasize that fire scenarios, this new concept, is related to planning units for a fire regime. So some kind of useful information for fire management, not for fire suppression. And it is adapted to a changing fire hazard. It's not only a dynamic concept, also it's working in a changing context. So something meaning with uncertainty and something useful for reducing uncertainty by contributing to preparedness. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have some question. Thank you.